And one of the things I want to close by saying, because it's certainly, I think, topical with this election and all the gridlock that we're seeing, and I think my colleagues would agree, that there are several things that have happened in our political process over the past several years, decades even, that have led to this extreme gridlock we have, right? Starting off with the money and politics, right? The flood of money. My Senate race, for example, will be somewhere between 60, 80, $100 million, right? One Senate race. My first congressional race was $30 million. That was a 2-year term. Right? Think of that. All the dark money, all the outside groups spending money. It's absurd what's happening. And we have to do more to rein in that money, to overturn Citizens United at a minimum, and get rid of all that outside money. More transparency. Another area that I think has to be addressed and looked at is the gerrymandering of the districts. Just to use quick round numbers here. About 20 years ago, when you looked at Congress, out of the 435 seats, about 200 of those were moderate seats. They could have been Republican, could have been Democrat, just depending on the year. Right? About 10 years ago, there were about 100 swing districts. Could have gone either way. This last Congress, there were about 45 competitive seats. Right? So that's about 10% of the Congress is up for grabs. Therefore, 90% of the Congress is predetermined. It's going to be Republican or it's going to be Democrat. All right, and if you're one of those safe seats, what election matters? Your primary. How do you win a primary? Right? More to the right or more to the left? So there's very little incentive anymore for members of Congress to come back to the middle. In fact, they're more incentivized to go more to the extreme and not come together because of that gerrymandering. So we need fair districts. Right? We've got to do more to get more moderate districts so people are incentivized to come to the middle. And we also must, and this is a tough one that's, I think, only becoming more serious, is look at the effects of media on politics. Right? 30 years ago, you get home from work, you turn on ABC, you see the news, whatever, but you go to bed. Here's what happened. Nowadays, you go to MSNBC or you go to Fox or you go to a website or an app that confirms your current beliefs. Admittedly so, I don't go to foxnews.com very often. I just don't, right? It makes me mad. I don't sleep at night. But we're all guilty, I think, in some ways of going to the, websites that confirm our current beliefs. So then what happens? Well, you all become a little bit more rigid. Oh, no, honey, see, you're wrong. Look, I see it right here. And every day you see it and you see it. Next thing you know, you become very partisan. And we're all becoming more guilty of this. So we've got to make sure that, especially for the students, that they are getting as much and as many independent sources of information so they can make a fair assessment. Right? And there's validity on all sides of the aisle for these arguments, but just make sure you're getting a balanced view of what's happening in the world, because so much of what we are reading and taking in nowadays has a partisan twist to it. So my promise to you all is the same as it was 5 years ago when I first started running for Congress. If elected to the Senate, I will continue to be an independent voice for the state of Florida. I will continue to make sure that every single piece of legislation I look at, everything I do is going to be, number one, to say what's the impact of that on the state of Florida? What's the impact on the country? And then how's that sit inside? I take that same approach with everything, and will continue to make sure that I do what I think is best. Don't put on blinders and, listen to all the outside groups and all that. Because I think we can make a difference. And call me naive. But this is a calling. And public service, despite all the negativity and all the nonsense, I believe is a place where we can make differences. Right? Where we can give more opportunities to more people. Right? And we have so much to offer as a nation. But we've got to come together and find that middle ground. So I thank you all for your support and sure hope I win this election in 6 days. Thank you.